What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and today I have got a great episode in store for you guys today. Today, we are going to be breaking down everything from the NFL to the MLB to the NBA. We got a great episode in store for you. There's a lot of storylines to talk today. And with that being said, I'm going to need some help on the show. So I'm going to be bringing back today a guest that you've seen on this show plenty of times before. I've been on his show plenty of times. He is the host of the Fumble Rooski podcast, powered by Power 88 Dean Radio, the one and only Mr. Adam Wright. How you doing, my guy?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's actually been a little while since I've last been on your show. I think it was like mid-May when we were talking Celtics.
Yeah,
Pretty sure that was the last time I was on your show. So
it probably was. Yeah,
it's been some time.
Yeah, it's been a little too long. It's been since probably was the NBA season was the last time I had you on the show. You're breaking down the Celtics and where they would finish. Obviously, it wasn't where we had hoped they would, but there's other endeavors now happening in the sports world, and I'm excited to cover that. We will cover some things in the NBA towards the end of the show. At least I will. But we're going to start things off in the NFL world, Adam. And regardless of whether Tom Brady is with the New England Patriots or whether he's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it does not matter where that man is. Tom Brady news is always going to do numbers up here. So I figured that we had to cover, the latest situation with Tom Brady. He had recently been out of Buccaneers training camp and, had been missing some time with Buccaneers for at least the past 2 weeks is what he said he was going to be out for. He has since returned to camp. And many people were speculating what was going on with him. Some people thought that his mother may not be well because that's been a very public thing that he's, had known. So a lot of people thought that could have been something that was in the air. And, when that came out, I was obviously very in support of Brady. I was like, man, go be with your mother. Absolutely. That could still be the case. And, if it is, then, I completely respect this move. But in the wake of this, there have been some reports that that wasn't really what Tom Brady was going to do. The reports have since been that Brady went to the Bahamas with Giselle and the kids for a vacation, in like a private like villa kind of area. And then there have also been some reports that Brady may be on The Masked Singer for this year. People are speculating that as he did sign a recent broadcasting contract with Fox. Fox obviously handles The Masked Singer. So a lot of people are trying to figure out what's going on over there. Adam, in general, this isn't something we typically see with Tom Brady. Tom Brady has always been known to put the team and football ahead of everything. So to see him go out and do this, it really is a change of character and a change of himself. What do you think of this? Do you think that Tom Brady's, personal, do you think his, desires and personal preferences of what he wants to do now have changed? Do you think the main focus isn't football anymore?
I'm sure his main focus is football, but I think he's also trying to prioritize other things in his life. He's at a point in his career where he still wants to play. He clearly wants to be in the league, but it also looks like it's one of those things where he's just getting older and he's looking out for himself a little more. Whereas during his New England Patriots days, he was a lot more, I'm for the team. Now he's kind of looking out for himself. I mean, he went to the Buccaneers where he could pad his stats a little bit, dare I say, and he won a ring. So he's just, he's kind of looking after himself. And I mean, you could call him a diva for that, but the way I look at it, he's towards the end of his career, man. Like if he wants to do this during the final years, he's down south in Florida where everybody wants to retire. He's just having a good time. So I don't hate it. I know some people are going to say, well, if LeBron was doing this, well, LeBron's been doing it his whole career. Tom Brady's just doing it in his final few years.
Yeah, there is that to where you can say that he's had enough leeway to maybe, go out and do this now at this point in his career. Yeah, I can definitely understand that take. The only thing I'm wondering, though, is was this part of the deal with Giselle allowing him to come back to football? Obviously, when he retired, he was saying that he wants to spend a lot more time with his family, with his kids. And a lot of people thought that was Giselle coming in and saying, hey, I want you to be at home more and do more, around the house, during football season. I want, it's kind of a strain on herself to watch all those kids and do all that. So I think she wanted Brady back in the mix with that. I think to get him into doing this, there were probably some conditions that she, made Brady agree to. And it was probably like, hey, if I want to go on vacation right now, you're going to come with me. I don't care what's happening. You're going to come on vacation with me. And, maybe Brady didn't like that, but he understood, all right, I don't know how much longer I got left. I want to go and have a vacation with my kids. I don't think he's worried about, beating those summer prices down there, because money is not a problem for them. They could go to the most expensive place on earth and stay there. So that isn't an issue. But I think it's a mix of Giselle getting in the mix, and also the fact that, Brady's, had to kind of watch his kids grow up, in bits and pieces. He's kind of been, playing, he plays for, 7 months out of the year for the most part. And then, the rest of the time he's at home, but, he misses probably a lot of, birthdays, a lot of, school events, a lot of different things that, a typical dad would probably be able to make.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. I mean, like he's been a very team first oriented type of guy, and now he's at that stage of his career, and he wants to spend more time with his family. He wants to look out more for himself. It's not like he's become selfish. I mean, he's still getting out there, he's playing, he's practicing, he's not leaving the team or any at least not during the regular season. He's not missing too much time. It's I'm not too worried about this. I'm really not. And also that to address this Masked Singer thing.
Yeah, because that's the thing too, Adam. If I can kind of see the idea of a family vacation, but if he's going on and is going to, come out as like this feathery robot or something like that, and that's going to be revealed like what his character is, it's like, oh my God, like what is this guy doing? That's going to put a more sour taste in my mouth. And it's interesting because the Masked Singer recording dates do line up pretty well with his absence.
Yeah, but like, and like if it turns out he was the Masked Singer, then it's a little over the top. That's a little like, yeah, it's a little over the top. But like, I feel like if he was the Masked Singer, we would know. Like
I don't know. I think some NDAs have to be signed. I think that does have to be kept kind of secret.
Because there's plenty of people out there who were at the event, and there were judges, and there were production people and producers. Somebody must have leaked it. I feel like we would have known if it was the Masked Singer.
Yeah, I mean, Brady's come out and publicly denied that he was on it. So, but at the same time, he does, if you're on a show like that, you do have to sign an NDA saying, hey, I'm not going to disclose whether I was on this show, especially if it's something secretive like that. You can't reveal anything like that. So even if someone came out and ended up saying, oh my God, I was an audience member at the Masked Singer, or, one of the judges comes out and says it, Brady could just say, yeah, they're just trying to, stir up controversy, get some ratings. So we're really not going to know until we watch the Masked Singer, which I really don't want to have to watch the Masked Singer to see if there's an NFL controversy. I'm all set.
And like, before this episode, I looked at a clip of it, and I'm not sure if this was just in the clip, but all they did was when the mask came off, they just put a logo over him.
Okay.
Or like they just put like a cutout of like Tom, like a, yeah. So like, is that what they do with all the Masked Singers? Or is it just like they covered up Tom Brady's face? Because like
typically when you take the mask off, they do show whose face it is underneath.
So
because the person is underneath.
So that's interesting. This one time they decided to cover it up. It sounds like, I mean, this could be something where they're just looking at just trying to draw eyes for ratings. They know Tom Brady's taking time off.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it stir the pot if they say, oh, maybe Tom Brady was on our show while he was taking this time off? Maybe he wasn't. Everyone's going to be talking about it. Yeah.
I mean, that show's been known to have some interesting people on it. So I don't know if that's really going to be the case, but I think that if it is revealed that he's on the Masked Singer, I think I'd have a much different connotation than, if he was just on vacation with his family, and especially if he was, taking care of his mother, which I have the most admiration for. So it's really going to depend what he was doing there, but that's going to really depend on how things unfold in the coming days. Another NFL story, Adam, that I want to talk about, and this one is really crazy. This happened just the other day. It was Bengals versus Rams. They were having a preseason game coming up, so they're doing some joint practices. And in the midst of this, an all-out war breaks out between Aaron Donald, the Bengals, it gets pretty ugly. And I know that we've seen some preseason scuffles pretty recently, most notably with the Pats and the Carolina Panthers. That game was pretty uneventful. Like, nothing got too out of hand during that game. But this was a different level of brawl. You see Aaron Donald out there swinging Bengals helmets at players. If you had any doubt in your mind that Aaron Donald was, possibly going to be, out of shape when he was pondering retirement, all those doubts are out the door now. Aaron Donald looks like he's in amazing shape and looks like he's ready to fight off anyone coming at him. But that was wild.
If he gets the chance to play this season, I'm sure he'll play whatever games he's allowed to play.
Yeah, after that incident.
Look, listen, Myles Garrett was suspended 6 games after he swung his helmet at Mason Rudolph, and he also had a damaged reputation for it. Now, Aaron Donald is one of those players who things couldn't be better for him. He finally got a ring. He's hailed as one of the best defensive players, probably the best interior defensive lineman to ever play the sport. And he's out here doing this. It's not a good look for him. And honestly, looking at that Myles Garrett swing, I don't think he got enough games. Like 6 games for practically trying to end this poor guy's life.
He almost decapitated Mason Rudolph.
And he got 6 games for it.
Yeah.
Like, get this guy out for at least, let's give him 11 games. Let's give him the 11-game treatment.
Oh, geez. I mean, I know there were some speculations to whether Mason Rudolph called Myles Garrett a racial slur. Rudolph obviously denied those allegations, and, different things stirred the pot with that. But I think what mainly caused the suspension of Myles Garrett to be 6 games is the fact that it happened on, live television. It happened during a national broadcast where, the game kind of did get away from them at the end, but Myles Garrett really just takes a full-on chunk out of Mason Rudolph's head during the middle of a game, which I think was the real context for him to get 6 games.
And I'm not necessarily, and he swung once.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily.
How many times did Aaron Donald go at it?
I mean, I can't even tell you. I can't count. But the difference in this is that this happened during a preseason. This happened during, training camps and different things like that. I'm not necessarily sure Aaron Donald's going to get, a massive suspension for this. He might get, I think, 1 or 2 games possibly. But I think because, you're not seeing it in 4K from 8 different angles, you're seeing it from, grainy cell phone footage. The NFL is going to want to get their, best players on the field, and they want to have them on the field for as long as possible. And if they're able to kind of shove this aside, have the preseason game between those 2 teams go off without a hitch, I could see them just trying to maybe find him and just try to move on from this incident.
That's possible, but they suspended Myles Garrett for 6 games.
Yeah.
And that was a, dare I say, a much more minor incident. Like, he only swung once. Aaron Donald swung and he just kept on going.
Yeah. But the difference is it wasn't just Aaron Donald going at the players. It was also a full-on, team brawl with Aaron Donald kind of being the focal point of it. If Aaron Donald just grabbed some Bengals helmets from the sidelines and just went to town, you could point out and you could say, all right, that's the guy, that's the instigator, and we need to punish that guy. I'm not saying that Aaron Donald didn't instigate it in the first place. The footage that I've seen so far is kind of grainy and just not the best type of footage, but you can obviously tell that he's involved in the fight. He's involved with, going after Bengals players and fighting different people off. So there is that there, but I just don't know what it's going to, eventually kind of all pertain to.
Right. But there's a difference between if you instigate it and you are shoving people, that's a big difference from instigating and shoving people and responding and straight up clubbing somebody with a big, bulky, hard helmet repeatedly. That's semi-barbaric.
Yeah.
And that's almost, especially when you do it repeatedly. He did it once and he said, let me do this again and again and again. That's almost I don't want to say intent to kill because
stop.
I don't want to
listen,
but
yeah,
that's
listen, it's interesting that Aaron Donald was using the NFL's, basically the device that they tried to regulate the amount of concussions that they give out. He was trying to use those to give out concussions himself.
Yeah. Or probably worse.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know what the whole incident of it was. There is just that, now becoming somewhat famous and iconic shot of Aaron Donald just double fisting Bengals helmets as the entire team and swarm of them is just approaching him. That's a wild shot.
Yeah, the whole thing was just crazy. And
Mhm.
as I said before, like, yeah, that might have happened on national television, but like everybody's going to see this video.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who, and everyone and their mother knows who Aaron Donald is. And they're going to see that the NFL is letting him off because his name is Aaron Donald,
Yeah.
whereas Myles Garrett was just a rookie at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure what's going to happen there, but obviously these two teams were, playing each other in the Super Bowl last year. They're two great teams going into this year again. It is interesting that you see them in a preseason matchup and not directly in a regular season matchup at the start of the year. But for yourself, what do you think which of these two teams is likely going to be repeating at the Super Bowl back in February?
Well, I have to go with the Rams.
Yeah.
And the Bengals did improve a lot. And for those of you who are listening, who also listen to my show, you guys know I hate this argument and I hate saying it, but the Super Bowl hangover, not for the winner, for the loser,
yes,
is real. And there's nothing analytical about it. It's all an argument from emotions. And even though the Bengals have wildly improved dramatically on that offensive line, it's almost like maybe one of the better offensive lines in football now. And I don't know if it's tough to see it for the Bengals, but the Rams, they also improved themselves. They did lose their left tackle to retirement, but the guy who's behind him is pretty good as well. And they also replaced Robert Woods with Allen Robinson. Like, you upgraded at that position. And you replaced old Von Miller with that guy from Seattle, Bobby Wagner. So that team is improved. Maybe their offensive line could use their secondary could use a little bit of work, but it's got to be the Rams. I mean, they've improved, and they're coming off a Super Bowl, so they have that momentum going for them. They have it all going for them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the Rams are definitely the team to come out of it. I'm not sure how the Bengals will react to it, because there's the fact that, you could say that they're young, so they're going to be emotional. But there's also the idea that, some of these guys like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase haven't been in the league long enough to really recognize the gravity of losing a Super Bowl like that. So I think that the Bengals, it's really going to depend. Are they really going to be hung up on falling short like this? Or are they going to be able to say, all right, we were just in it last year, so what's going to stop us from getting back to it? So I think that the Bengals could have a shot to, come out of the gate strong and, make a push. But I think the Rams really do run the NFC right now. They were able to take care of Brady despite that heroic comeback that he was trying to put on, down 27-3. So, they're in a pretty good spot this year. I think that, the addition of Allen Robinson is a really good one. I think that, the receiving core is looking solid. Matthew Stafford has another year in that system. So I really got to go with it, I'd probably go for the Rams as well. Now, Adam, I know. Yeah. So obviously, that's kind of where I stand with that right now. We're going to probably transition out of the NFL into some MLB stuff. Adam, I appreciate you coming on for this segment. Before you go, if there's anything you want to personally shout out, feel free.
Yeah, definitely go check out my podcast, the Fumble Rooski podcast. We talk predominantly NFL, but here's the difference with any other show. What we like to do is we like to get all of our listeners and our guests involved to the point where you guys are practically part of the you guys are practically part of the show. We have fan box questions where you guys can respond with whatever, and we mention you on the show. We'll have you guys on the show, and you guys get your own segment where you can talk about whatever you want. Doesn't even have to be football. So definitely go check us out.
Doesn't even need to be sports some of the time.
Yeah, we're yet to have something like that, but we do encourage, which especially during the summertime when we understand football can be a little slow, and we're figuring out ways to to cope with that. But I mean, anything you guys want to talk about, anything that's on your mind, come on to our show, give a hot take, give a prediction, give a bold prediction, talk about the NFL, talk about the NBA, MLB, NHL. Talk about golf. Just anything.
I like
Anything.
golf.
You like golf?
Yeah, I like golf.
I need to get back into golf, but I
Yeah.
haven't. I haven't gotten too much into it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you
Adam,
guys get the.
yeah.
You guys get the. You guys get the. You guys get the idea. We love getting guests on. We love hearing what you guys have to say. So definitely check us out.
Yeah. Adam, thank you so much for coming on, man. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, Adam.
See you, man.
Let's see. All right. So obviously Adam's great on, the show. Love to have him on. Great host of his own. So with that being said, we're going to transition over to MLB news real quick. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in MLB news, mainly the fact that MLB has unveiled a new schedule format for the 2023 season. Believe the season's supposed to start on March 30th. So the main change to the schedule, which is new for MLB, is that you're going to see all 30 teams play each other this year. That's not something you typically see in the MLB. Typically in the NBA, you see, all those teams play each other within one, 82 game schedule. Now with the MLB, you're going to see, your team at least play one series against every single team in the league. And I like this move. I do. I like the fact that you can go out there and, get to see how each team matches up. But there's also a part of me which is kind of torn on this. And it's the idea that, back in the olden days where, the AL and the NL were basically two separate leagues, you wouldn't see those two teams face each other until the World Series really came up. That was it. And, there was a bunch of speculation as to how would the Cardinals match up against the Red Sox? They haven't played each other this entire season. So how are they going to look against each other? And there was always a bunch of, kind of stuff up in the air with trying to figure that out. Now with it getting to this, you're going to know how these teams match up. It could be a quick 3-game series, but you might know, all right, those teams battled out back in June. That was an amazing series. How are they going to fare on the World Series? We're going to have to see. Or what could be a problem is that, it could be, say, the Yankees and I don't know, let's say the Cardinals again, just for the sake of it. They're first place in their division. The Yankees play the Cardinals and they absolutely smoke the Cardinals. Are you going to be excited to watch that World Series? Because I'm not. If I see how that series played out earlier in the year, and obviously things change. The Yankees just sent a guy like Jordan Montgomery, who was, on the fringe outside of the rotation to the Cardinals, and is now tearing it up in St. Louis. So things can definitely change throughout a calendar year, and even during that year as well. So things can change, but say that is a bad series when it goes down at that point in the year. I think that could turn a lot of people off from, wanting to watch that series. So, there's a lot of things in the air. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that, but I definitely am a little haphazard when it comes to looking at this new MLB schedule. The next piece of MLB news I want to talk about as well is Albert Pujols. This man has been on a mission lately. He's approaching 700 home runs, is currently at 693 homers, and there's a lot of things going in the air right now. So Pujols has said that regardless of whether he reaches 700 or not, he's going to retire at the end of this year. It's going to be a kind of a Mr. 3000 situation. If you don't know, the movie Mr. 3000, the main character in the movie retires, during the middle of a, playoff run after he gets his 3000th hit, because that's all he needs to make the Hall of Fame. And then, later it comes out that there's like a calculating error and he was actually 7 hits shy and he needs to go back into the majors to reach that 3,000 hit mark. And there's something like that. And I don't want our Pujols to fall short here. I really hope that if he doesn't fall short, that if he does indeed fall short, that he would, consider coming back and playing another game. At least another couple of games, try to get the 700, maybe even play a full season in 2023. I love that. And I'd love to see what he could go out there and do. I mean, our Pujols, he has been in the league my entire life. I have never known an MLB without Albert Pujols in it. He could be injured at certain points of the year, but my entire life, this man has been in the MLB. He's been in the MLB as long as I've been alive. So with that being said, I just don't know if he's going to be able to reach 700 home runs. He's been on a tear lately, and I hope that he can continue that tear. But he's also 42 years old at this point. He's not the prime Albert Pujols that we used to see tearing it up in St. Louis all those years ago, where 7 home runs by the end of a month wouldn't even be in question. He's been having the best, I think, batting stretch over a certain period of games. He had one of the best stretches over a 10-game period in his career recently. So it's possible he could go out there and do it, but I do have my doubts with it. I'd like to see him get it. I'm rooting for him all the way. And if he gets it, it's one of the most impressive stats for baseball. Not only because, it's 700 home runs, only 4 guys have ever done it. He'll probably be the first clean guy since Hank Aaron to do it. Obviously, Barry Bonds never officially tested positive for steroids, but you saw that how big that guy's forehead got. That wasn't anything natural. So I think that it's likely that he will end up. I think he will get it by the end of the year. I'm hopeful, but I just, I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that too. But I'm still questioning it right now. I'm hoping for the sake of MLB that he can really, show us one last show. But we're gonna have to really wait and see with that. As we do kind of close out the show, I am going to jump into NBA news. But before we do that, I want to shout out Down to the Wire and just a couple things over there real quick. We're going to be returning to campus pretty soon in the fall. And when we do, we'll be back on the radio at WJMF 88.7 HD2, Smithville, Providence. It's an HD station, so you guys will be able to watch us there. It's on a web player, so you can listen to us live all over the world. Just go onto, WJMFradio.com, go to the live stream setting, and you can access us there. And then, for access, seeing any, recorded podcasts or just any old clips or different things like that, we have a ton of ways to watch the show. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, so much more. You can find all of that on our Instagram bio, where there's a link right in the bottom of our bio. And our Instagram is at down.tothewire on Instagram. Again, at down.tothewire on the IG. So, there's a couple things, there's a couple different ways you guys can watch us there. We hope that you guys actually do tune into that. So before we do go down the wire and wrap things up, I have one more story in the NBA I want to cover. And that is the Oklahoma City Thunder's rookie, was projected to be one of the best rookies coming into this year, Chet Holmgren. Recently, suffered a Liz Frank fracture in his right foot and is now out for the entire 22-23 season for the Thunder. Chet Holmgren has been nicknamed the Slim Reaper. And unfortunately, I think that name has come back to haunt him. He's been, some people have made KD comparisons to this guy. I've seen him. He looks pretty solid. But the thing is, this kid's built like a stick. And when you're built like a stick, you're bound to break. Look at a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo. When he came in the league, he was bone thin and was kind of limited in terms of, his game. Then he put on a ton of muscle and is now one of the most feared players in all the game. I'm hoping Chet Holmgren can do something like this. Otherwise, injuries like this are going to be pretty common. I don't know if you guys saw the injury, the exact play where he injured himself, but he was guarding LeBron James, which is a tall task nonetheless. If you're asked to guard LeBron James coming down the lane, you're in trouble. I mean, I might physically pass away if I had to guard LeBron James coming at me down in the paint. Like, I would not be able to handle that. So for this kid to be able to do his job, LeBron did end up missing the shot, but as you do get to a certain point, LeBron's driving down the lane. He goes up for a layup. Chet tries to block him and then just lands somewhat awkwardly on his foot. And that was basically it. That was his injury. And the fact that that's really all it took for this, 7-foot kid to really break his, leg in his foot in a sense, that's kind of concerning. I mean, you can say that, it's a freak injury. And obviously, we've seen tons of freak injuries. As a Celtics fan myself, I saw Gordon Hayward go down. We've seen Sean Livingston's injury, Kevin Ware in college basketball. So there's a ton of injuries where it's not really something you can prevent. And I'm not saying that, not saying that Chet not having a couple extra pounds on him would have prevented this injury. Things could always still happen. There could be damage and just stuff in general. But if this is going to be his body type throughout the NBA, it's likely he's going to get beat up. I mean, you look back at the NBA of like the early 90s, those guys were ripped, they were huge, and they were able to absorb a big impact. And even guys like now, like where you saw, Giannis come into the league super thin, he recognized, all right, if I want to be a real threat in this league, I got to put on some muscle. And that guy got shredded. So I don't know what type of a workout plan Chet's got to get on, but he's got to get on that Giannis plan if he wants to get anywhere close to where he wants to be. So there's that. I obviously hope that Chet can get better. The Thunder do still have like 20,000 first-round picks remaining, so they should be all right. The only thing I'm worried about now is what does this mean for NBA players playing in Pro-Am games? Obviously these games the game that he injured himself in, it was a game for the crossover tournament, which is, a traditional Pro-Am game. LeBron's played it in the past, ton of other NBA players go in it. I think Jason Tatum's even in this game. The thing I'm worried about is, are certain NBA teams going to say, you can't play in this game anymore? This guy who was a highly touted rookie injured himself. We're going to pull you out of this game. I'm hoping that isn't the case because, this does generate a lot of money. It gets people to gyms during the summer to go watch these NBA players play before their season really gets underway. I don't know what it's really going to look like. I think that some guys will still obviously stay in these games. I think that, a guy like LeBron James is going to be able to tell the Lakers that, hey, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and you're not going to be able to tell me otherwise. So that's not something I worry about with, big marquee guys playing in it. But, even look at Miami Heat. They had Nikola Jovic. He wanted to go play in the FIBA Cup, and they ended up telling him, no, you're going to stay here and you're going to train with us for the next season. I could see that being pretty much the common case with a lot of these NBA rookies that, teams are going to want them to stay, in-house and train as well as they can. If a freak injury like a Paul George leg snap happens, that's not something great, but you can understand that that's a freak injury. But when, a thin guy is taking, a hit from LeBron James like that under the rim and, just has some weird like breakage in his foot, I think a lot of clubs are going to, dial that back and say, hey, we don't need you, out doing any more than you need to do. At least I think that's what it's going to look like. I think that pro-am games will be a little bit more scaled back. It's going to be a lot more veteran driven, which could be really good for those games because that's frankly what a lot of people go out to see. But I think that you will see some of these younger guys get taken out of that game. So obviously, we're now going to go down to the wire. We have a ton of things that we talked about in the show today. Obviously, Adam Wright came on the show. It was great to have him on to talk some NFL news. Unfortunately, he did have to run, so he couldn't stay for the rest of the show. But on the show today, we talked about Tom Brady returning to the Bucks after his hiatus. There was some speculation there, which with certain things going on. After that, we talked about the big brawl breaking out at Rams joint practice. Between the Rams and the Bengals, Aaron Donald swinging his helmet crazily. And then we ended up going to MLB news, talking about the MLB's new schedule format, all 30 teams playing each other, which is a big change in the schedule. Obviously, there are some other dates that are, up there as well. Another big MLB news thing that just came out is that the MLB is going to be playing in South Korea in the Korea series. They're going to be playing players in the KBO. So that'll be taking place from November 9th to November 12th. And that'll be a cool series to see as well. And then we jumped over into Albert Pujols and talked about his home run race for 700 home runs. I'm hopeful he gets it. I really am. But, there's a lot of things coming up in the air right now. Hopefully the Cardinals in the situation they're in can get him as many at-bats as possible and, give him as many swings as possible. Hopefully he can do it. He's got the entire month of September and, that first week of October before playoff baseball kicks in and those stats become irrelevant. So hopefully he can get that. And then finally, we jumped over into NBA news and talked about Chet Holmgren's injury against LeBron James in the crossover Pro-Am tournament. Obviously, a tough injury for Chet, tough blow for the Thunder. Hopefully, they'll be able to, come back and, have a good season regardless of this. They're obviously a young team, so they have a ton of great draft picks, a great future ahead of them. Hopefully, they can come out and do that. So we thank you guys so much for listening to the show. Obviously, kind of a crazily put together show this week, but we appreciate anyways. We got some good stuff coming up once we're back at school in the fall. So from Down the Wire, I'm Brian Costa, and we hope you guys have a great day. Take care and peace out.